Borderlands 4 was released about a month ago and received major scrutiny because of poorly performing stylized visuals. This led the studio CEO to start spewing excuses and statements trying to downplay people's criticisms. Randy Pitchford is a prime example of what a complacent dev will try to do because they think their customers are too stupid to pick up on their lazy production. In reality, the industry has had enough, and organized efforts like this channel can profile their shoddy work in less than 20 seconds. Using very basic settings, this very stylized game takes up more computing power than Days Gone and Need for Speed 2015 combined, just like E33's budget, which by the way uses the same overly praised engine version. The difference in compute is equivalent to 75% of Half-Life Alyx's rendering budget. You can reference the settings shown in those videos, but this game is clearly not optimal, when it takes almost 3 games worth of computation for worse visuals. We can also see that fog and all volumetric systems offer a 1 FPS difference in performance, because all of the major bottlenecks relate directly to Epic Games' idiotic UE5 graphics engineering. Before any sensitive tone police attack my aggressiveness, Threat Interactive is the only mainstream voice that has showed various cheaper non-light map indirect lighting methods. Lumen, after 3 years, still remains as an embarrassment to Epic Games, and every person on the Lumen development team should be held accountable for the disgusting visuals we get in almost every single major UE5 release. Shadows are far less impressive while costing more in comparison with far more complex scenarios. Those games don't suffer from disgusting noisy shadows either. A pre-pass is supposed to be fast, and this geometry complexity could have been processed in less than a millisecond with basic depth rendering hardware. But no, consumers are forced to process cluster culling logic, slow mesh shaders, and Nanite's 3 times slower compute shader rasterizer. There is also various textures used in the prepass, creating a redundant texture addressing cost in the pipeline. Now, we've previously shown that processing materials with Nanite is like processing an extremely unoptimized dense mesh. In Borderlands 4, that cost is tripled by their unoptimized materials and noisy virtual textures, where usage is highly recommended by Epic Games. Now, if these aspects were replaced with values that reflected the basics of non-UE5 games, as in values we would still criticize as bloat, 1080p 60 FPS on a desktop 3060 would be achieved. Again, these are not optimized values. It's just a reflection of how Epic Games' incompetent graphic engineering creates that huge gap in universally unacceptable performance. There's other waste we could discuss, but this is not a use case game, and there are no conclusions regarding this title. The conclusions regard the people behind this. Whether it's Threat Interactive or another person online criticizing optimization, there's always some disgusting developer who responds with, "Oh, you're not a developer," or "Where's your game?" usually followed up with some contrived rule about earning the right to criticize or earning the right to call things incompetent. If people don't have the right to criticize, they don't have the right to compliment titles that are technically more competent. So by this idiotic standard, the only people who can claim a product as competent is the maker of that product. That introduces an obvious conflict of interest hell. Now, the second thing people should recognize about this incident is that Randy glorifies Epic Games engineers, who are responsible for his game's performance problems. Now, before Unreal Engine shills whine that all main performance killing features in UE5 are optional, reference these repeatedly made statements on the channel. Now, what did I say in this video? That complacent devs would be rewarded by Epic Games. When Borderlands 4 crashed on Conan's live show, Epic Games' sponsored news outlet stated the crash was a part of a planned comedic bit. Only at the very end of the article, where viewer retention is most likely very low, are there hints about outing the statement as damage control. This is how Epic Games gains loyalty from their incompetent, complacent, lying devs. But because people have supported and subscribed to this channel, people recognize truth. A year ago, everyone would have been praising Arc Raiders as some kind of example of using Unreal Engine the right way. Now, when mainstream personalities suggest UE5 is a competent engine, commenters are swift in stating on what's really going on. This is a PR nightmare for Epic Games that will drive them and their communities to fix problems this channel discusses. People are giving proper credit to better BRDFs, there is demand for better tone mappers, and the dying culture of custom engine graphics development is making a comeback in these communities because this channel is ripping apart games like Borderlands 4. Games like Borderlands 4 and all the other games we've called out that would have performance problems a year ago because we said that their productions would blindly adopt Epic Games' garbage graphic standards. But in the end, A well-funded studio like Gearbox Software or indies with minimal funding should not have to fix an engine made by a multi-billion-dollar company. We recommend watching all of our videos in order to help our viewers understand all the terms we go over. Thank you so much to our Patreon members, as you guys literally keep this channel going. Help us make the future of games better and help us spread awareness and education through our videos by joining our Patreon, where we give members exclusive media to enjoy. Thank you for watching, and until our next video.